Hey, everybody!
Hey!
So, from New York City
And
and
from
Australia.
Australia.
Okay, so most of you guys know that I am just agog, jaw on the floor. That
Yeah.
Harry and Meghan are doing yet another quasi-royal tour, and even more agog that they would go back to Australia. So I got to show you guys this. Hold on, uno momento, while I get this up because I went on Substack and wrote this piece. Harry and Meghan are in for a rude awakening in Australia.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people are like, why? And I was like, well, look at the polls, right? And also because, I don't know, the last time they were in Australia, hold on, let me add this. That's there they are. Last time in Australia, there was a bit of a kerfuffle. So I'm going to go through it real fast and then we're going to get
Yeah.
Shauna's take, okay?
Okay.
The last time, 2018, it was like, oh my God, they were the height of popularity. Their numbers were higher than Catherine and Williams, which is pretty hard to do. And of course, Meghan showed up. She was glowing. They announced she was pregnant. They just charmed farmers in Dubbo. They went to the Taronga Zoo. Harry did the Sydney Harbor Bridge. They look like they're having a great time. Now, also, in that same trip, they went to Fiji. And once the big headlines got passed, like, oh my God, she's pregnant. Oh my God, they're so great. What? It's their first royal tour. All of a sudden, things weren't as rosy as they would like us to think. So apparently, and I had to write this down. Royal author Valentine Lowe, in his book Courtiers, claimed Meghan, quote, failed to understand the point of all those walkabouts, where you go, you shake hands, you meet people, and all that good stuff, and was overheard saying, upon seeing throngs of fans outside the Sydney Opera House, what are they all doing here? It's silly, to staff. She also was heard saying, I can't believe I'm not getting paid for this, despite the fact that, she lived for free, everything was for free, fill in the blank. And, it was really, a lot of people took it as, why am I not being paid to talk to these people, the little people? And a
Yeah.
lot of people are like, what the heck's going on? And then they flew to Fiji. And this is what happened in Fiji. Oh boy. Yeah. There were reports, so this is alleged, that Meghan became upset at being given only a wing. Oh, this is still in Australia. Only given a wing of Admiralty House, the Australian Governor General's official residence in Sydney, as opposed to the whole property, because, two people need 900 rooms. And on another occasion, she reportedly lost her temper with an assistant and a hot drink was knocked over. On the same trip, during a Fiji market tour, Meghan was seen by several reporters raging at an aide, and the Daily Mail royal correspondent Rebecca English said she witnessed the Duchess turn and hiss at a member of her entourage, clearly incandescent with rage about something, and then demand to leave. Rebecca English added, I later saw that same female, highly distressed member of staff sitting in an official car with tears running down her face. Our eyes met and she lowered hers, humiliation etched on her features. So, wow, that's a lot, Shauna.
It's a lot. And it just proves they're the Duke and Duchess of delusion to think that they can come back to this country and that we have such short memories. And
Right.
really, the whisperings, the more serious allegations, the gloss coming off the whole peak of popularity happened alarmingly quickly.
Yes.
And I think Fiji really confirmed it, but there were rumblings over here, even from the treatment of David Beckham. I mean, if David Beckham is getting snubbed, then that sort of raised everyone's eyebrows and it sort of created a bit of interest, because if he's getting snubbed, well, then it's just not a tabloid concoction, that
Right.
there's something going on. And people started to get the heads up around that time. But I think you're correct definite peak of popularity. It was their first official, really big royal tour. But then it ended in, cups of tea being thrown in the air, staff in tears, and more importantly, Paula, a buried inquiry.
Tell me about that. Because,
Okay, so
by
this
the
is
way, I'm excited that this time she's at least probably going to bring her own tea to throw. But what
and you
was
wouldn't
the
dare chuck it at anyone. I had to laugh. It was, reports, rumor, but it has been reported in the media, and the expression was that it was thrown in the air.
right?
And also, there's the off-record rumors, which are just rumors. So I'm not saying that they have any, substance to them, but there was a staff member that copped some hot tea, and there was a formal complaint. That is what I have heard. And that's why the palace took this rather seriously. Now, we do know that with the inquiry into the bullying allegations, that very much this tour of Australia in 2018 was a major part of the inquiry.
Yes.
Her behaviour, Harry, by a lesser extent, Harry's behaviour in Australia was part of the investigation that was buried. We never got to see the results, but it did stem from the complaints of staff that went on this Australian tour with them. That was where the main complaints came from.
100%. And after that tour, several staff left. And
Yeah.
let's also remind everyone, this was, I think, 6 months after they got married. This was their first major tour. And you're only 6 months a princess or a duchess. And both, actually, she is both. But, and this is how you're going to behave 6 months in. I can only imagine what would have happened if she had stuck around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there were rumblings pretty early on. So Peter Cosgrove was our Governor General at the time, who greeted them, also Lady Cosgrove. And Admiralty House at Kirribilli is just the most beautiful vice-regal residence that overlooks Sydney Harbour. So it's the perfect scene. And they gave them little gifts for the baby-to-be and, little baby koala and all that sort of thing. So it was all feel good. But there was a vibe being picked up quite early in the piece because it was observed, and people gave excuses. They were saying, oh, maybe she's experiencing morning sickness, or maybe she's tired from the flight, or, So people always made excuses for her. But her general attitude was a little bit standoffish with Lady Cosgrove. And then rumblings and rumours started spreading. Now, these people could just be rumblings and rumours from people that didn't particularly like Meghan Markle. So there was always that other side where you think, oh, well, come on, people would make excuses because there wasn't anything definitive to go on. But when these real verified reports from really reputable journalists like Valentine Lowe and Rebecca English came out later, people were like, I knew something was up.
Yep.
I could sense something was up because you could just feel the tension. And it's easy to do that in retrospect, I guess.
100%.
But it does fill in the pieces. It all made sense.
It absolutely does. Because also, as a journalist, I get a lot of flack from people like, how do you know that's what happened? They said it didn't happen. And you're like, just because something happens behind closed doors and these people don't want it out there, just because they say it didn't happen, doesn't mean it didn't happen. You still have other eyewitnesses who are so upset because there is no recourse. And as we were talking about, the Inquisition got buried. Nothing really happened. And nothing was really said. They all just kind of like brush it under the rug. Come on, let's just move on. But at the same time, these are real people whose livelihoods depend on this couple. And that's always just what kind of freaks me out a bit is people who take for granted that, yes, here's the one person, the celebrity, if you will, because they're not royal anymore. Here's the celebrity. They have all these people who pay their mortgages off this celebrity, and they try to do a great job, but they're the first ones thrown under the bus anytime something comes out about the celebrity's horrific behavior, especially when like Meghan and Harry, ones like Meghan and Harry, who don't seem to have any actual self-awareness of how they behave or how their actions affect others,
Or don't care.
or don't care. You are
Yeah, I think they had ample heads up. I mean, Tom Bauer reported in his book Revenge that Jason Kanoff actually called Harry in prior to the Australian tour, now ostensibly to discuss the tour because he couldn't go because he broke his elbow, I believe.
I bet he broke it on purpose. I might
Yeah,
not. I might have.
so yeah, I think that injury was really welcome at the time,
Well
but
timed.
but the heads up was that he did sort of say to Harry, look, staff are concerned about Meghan's attitude towards them, and more or less said, can you ask her to pull her head in before she goes off on this tour? So they did have the heads up. And also we have to know with the timeline that when they got back from the Australian tour, and there were definite leakings and briefings, and especially about the Fiji market story that was getting out. And also people in Kirribilli House, things like that, they were talking. I mean, they were saying to their cousin, and then their cousin was saying to someone else, and
Yeah.
a lot was getting out. A lot was getting out. And it's interesting that 3 months after they got back, it would have been 3 months after they got back, because she was roughly 12 weeks pregnant when she went to Oz. And then when she got back, when she was about 6 months pregnant, she had her baby shower in New York. While she was in New York for her baby shower, that was when William went around to Knockcott, and the so-called fight occurred.
Right. With the dog bowl.
And
The broken necklace.
yes, and William was just trying to tell him too.
Yeah.
So there was heaps of occasions where they could have paused and thought, well, hang on, if this is just, a clash of cultures, that they could have wised up and changed their attitude and changed the way they behaved. But they're just too arrogant.
But also having courtesy, frankly, is not a culture clash. That's
No,
just
that was
something
the excuse
you either have or
given.
you don't.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
so the thing I wanted to know from you, and before we get into it, the other big question I have is who the hell is paying for this trip? Because we know that Hagen and Mary, Harry and Meghan,
The
most likely are
Harkles. Easy
not
just to say the Harkles.
Harry and Meghan are likely not paying for this. So I actually had called round to their people, and I was like, is Invictus paying? Because this could be seen as a legitimate charitable expense. And I was assured that is not true. I said, so are they paying for it? That was no one's commenting on that. And then I asked, is the Australian Tourism Board paying for it? And I have not heard back, because let's be honest, and I was a travel writer as well. The Australian Tourism Board, I had my own travel show. The Australian Tourism Board was very generous. They want to showcase the country and get Australia on the tips of everyone's tongue. And, in a way, you could see how Harry and Meghan's visit might do that. But I don't know. What do you think about that, Shauna?
Well, I can see the sense
wait,
in that.
Wait, before you answer, I must say we do not know who is paying for this. This is just a question and a suspicion I had. So
just an interesting discussion. Yeah. I can see your point about the visuals, because we obviously have a very beautiful country. They're going to go to Melbourne and Sydney. So, you just need those shots of the harbour, Harry on a boat, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I can see the tourism aspect. However, if the reaction to them is divisive, which it is already proving to be, that is not great tourism, because it just, if people are having a go at her, and look, I think they might, as in just boo, that sort of thing, it's going to feed into the narrative. People are going to say, see, more racist bigots, just like in the UK. So that's not going to be good for tourism. It's not true. It's just people expressing their honest opinions,
For
and it's not
this
true.
particular
Yeah,
couple.
yeah. But divisiveness is not good tourism. That
No.
would be my argument. And they are incredibly divisive because their fan base is a very loud minority. And interestingly, their fan base is also very much on the Republican side of the debate.
Oh.
So we have a very loud senator, Lydia Thorpe. You might remember when the King came over, she
Mm-hmm.
stormed into Parliament while he was making his speech and said, "Not my king, get off my land," more or less. I'm paraphrasing, right? Now, she's not going to have a go at Harry and Meghan. That's their fan base.
Wow. So
And
basically, you're saying their fan base is anyone who hates the king.
exactly. And this is the crazy thing. They're using the monarchy and royalty to actually make money, enhance their brand, raise their worldwide profile. They're happy to do that. Yet their fan base is anti-monarchist. So you've got that dissonance between the two positions, and they know exactly what they're doing. They know who they've cultivated, and that's their brand: divisiveness, create division, create concerns about, racial overtones in any country they visit, put pressure on politicians in that regard. And they're always on the side of that side that is anti-monarchist, that feels that they're the underdogs that are being suppressed by the empire. Harry.
Yeah.
Harry.
Right. Right.
He's part of the machine. He has been all his life.
I mean,
But
Harry
they're setting him up as
acts like he's part
outside.
of the machine. Can't tell him nothing.
Nah.
But it's so funny because I did note, the British are very like upper, they're a little uptight, and the Australians are not. And again, I
Oh, we're
mentioned
polite, though. We're polite. It takes us a lot
Some
to
of-
be rude.
I have seen some non-polite ones, but that was usually at a bar when I was with my ex-boyfriend.
Frank,
I
Paula, we're frank.
I almost went to Australia. I almost married an Australian. I've been there a fair many times. I love it.
Yeah.
But you guys are not afraid to pull any punches. And
No.
I'm wondering what the reaction will be, because again, as I mentioned, the polls for Harry and Meghan are in the sewer right now. Hold on, let me go whip this up for you. I called a friend of mine who's a very proper Australian. She might even be more proper
What's
than
a
you.
proper Australian?
Oh,
Am I a proper Australian?
oh, you're very proper, but like proper as in, polite and lovely, not like swinging from chandeliers, that kind of stuff. And so I asked her, I said,
Oh, she's
what
boring then. Yeah.
well, she's not, but I
I'm
can see
kidding.
what you mean.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. So I said, what do you think? And she goes, it's hard not to see the visit as tone deaf. Harry and Meghan have made a career out of rejecting royal life, yet they continue to leverage the global attention that comes with it, particularly in Commonwealth countries like Australia. Idiots.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much what I just said, although a bit more eloquently than what I just said. But yeah, I agree with that 100%, that they are using it, but at the same time painting themselves as, and look, everyone sort of equates the damage done to the monarchy with Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and they say in comparison, what they're doing isn't as bad. I would argue with that in this way. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has Republicans and monarchists in agreement that he is awful. So there's an agreement across the board. You don't have to be anti-monarchy or a monarchist to agree that he's yuck. So that's not a problem. We're all in agreement.
Human.
Yeah. He's just an awful human. We all agree, yuck, get him out of the royal family.
Yeah.
So it doesn't create much divisiveness across the board. But Harry and Meghan undermine the institution because there is no agreement.
Yeah.
And the Republican movement have captured them for their agenda. And I think the agenda is this: look, you don't need to have a royal family because you can have celebrities that can do exactly the same job
Right.
with charities and all that sort of thing. But it's actually false because there's always, Harry and Meghan have proven there's always a political overtone.
Well,
And royals don't have that.
absolutely. We saw this in Jordan, and it does make one wonder. They go to Jordan, they hang out with a charity group that has praised Hamas. They hang out with the UNRWA, which had 9 or 11 members fired because they actively participated in October 7th.
Yeah.
And, they were spouting, and Harry actually did spout some Hamas messaging, which was the aid
Propaganda.
corridors aren't open. They are. And now it seems like they're being used again. And you just wonder, A, why are they allowing themselves to be used? Do you think they know? Or are they
Oh,
doing
they know.
it? Do you think they're doing it for the free trip and for their own to get support?
Yeah. Yeah. They definitely know. And I think that's really the concern that most Australians have in all seriousness. We've just had the attack at Bondi, an anti-Semitic attack. So after their visit to Jordan, their Gaza adjacent visit, where they were literally sprouting Hamas propaganda,
Right.
Australians are aware. And we don't want that at the moment. We want to lower the temperature. It broke our hearts what happened at Bondi. There isn't an Australian across any political party that wasn't, horrendously hurt by that. Okay. Now, the Jewish community, we want to support them in that horror.
Yeah.
And so Harry and Meghan coming after clearly being aligned with a very much pro-Palestine, highly political, even propaganda aspect of that trip, then that's going to create divisiveness. So they attract the extreme ends of the debate. The more subtle middle ground where people understand the subtleties of the situation.
Right.
They're not who they appeal to. They appeal to the extremists.
Wow.
And that's what I'm worried about. I'm really worried that it's going to raise the temperature. It's going to make people in the Jewish community feel even more excluded than they already do. And nobody wants that. We're all trying to get back to who we really are, and we're not that.
Well, and it's also, she's going on, or they say she's going to participate in a podcast with a woman who has a bit of a problem herself.
Yeah, Jackie O.
Problematic.
Henderson. Yeah, big
Yeah.
blow up. Yeah, this week. Because Kyle Sandilands, who she's worked with for many, many, many years, and they had a 200 mil contract or something, biggest radio deal in the history of Australia.
Wow.
They had a big blow up because instead of having a go at everybody else they normally interview, he actually had a go at her.
Oh,
Now,
that's
she's
fun.
recently changed her life. She's given up alcohol. She's got off the drugs. She's, very clean living, a whole new Jackie O.
Oh, boy.
And I'm not sure that Kyle Sandilands actually knows what to do with this new Jackie O. And so they didn't get on quite as well as they used to. But it's interesting because here you have a woman who's sitting offside to him while he's there's a lot of misogyny, a lot of attacks, a lot of going in on vulnerable victims and saying the wrong thing. And she's sitting there being the social smoother. That's the role she has taken for many, many years. And she's gone away with it because she seems like a genuinely lovely person. But you got to look at what she's doing,
Right.
And so some people, are saying she's a hero now because she's walked away from the misogyny. She's finally, walked away. She's had enough of Kyle Sandilands. And I would argue that, 5 years ago, maybe that would be heroic. But, so that's the sort of person that would get on really well with Meghan.
Oh, that was some serious shade, Shauna, and I appreciate it. I am here for it, and I love it.
Yeah. Well, they attract she attracts mean girls, but
She
I don't
does.
think Megan will risk the walkabout. I don't think she'll do that. I think it will be very much
Mm,
limo, studio, limo, hotel. I don't think she's
helicopter.
going to put
Yeah.
herself out there. No.
No, but it's also like if this is not a business trip and it's not a business expense, why aren't you bringing the kids? And they say,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, it's because the kids are in school." Okay. Well, it's going to be around spring break. Why didn't you go on spring break?
Well,
Or
maybe the kids are already booked.
I, oh, Shauna, you are full of shade this morning. I do love it. You came
Yeah,
raring to go.
obviously.
This
But
is the bomba.
they never take the kids anywhere. I
No.
feel really sorry for them. They seem to be caught, in this melodrama compound.
Yes,
And,
with the
it's
chickens. Yes.
sad. She just uses her for photo ops. Did you see the latest one, Paula, for International Women's Day? You
Oh,
seen that
girl.
one with Lily?
Oh, girl. Yeah, I mean, the like with their backs on the rock looking over the ocean and just
Yeah,
this woman to become who she is, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, enough already. Jeez, oh, Pete, you
I
guys.
know. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
interesting because there were also some rumors that they were checking out Australia to see if she could sell as ever stuff there.
Flower sprinkles heading
Yeah.
our way. Yeah, I
Yeah.
heard an update on that. Evidently, she said no, it's not going to be about. I think because of the backlash. The interesting
Mhm.
thing, I've been your on the ground intrepid reporter,
Thank you.
Paula, from the luxury of my own lounge room, and I went out and checked the public temperature on my iPad, and
Yeah.
I found that every news sort of organization that's reported on this trip, and just about everyone's mentioned it, all their comments are turned off. And now
Oh,
normally they're not, but all of them, the comments are turned
wow.
off, which is an indication that things aren't going very well. So,
Yeah.
and the main PR they're pushing out is the banana bread that she baked for the drought stricken farmers when she was here back in
Undouble.
2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not doing it. I mean, the banana bread isn't making up for what people now know. And before they cut off the comments, there was hilarious comments underneath saying, "Oh, watch out for the flying tea," and
Girl. Okay, next time I'm gonna need you to screenshot all that and send it to me.
I will. Yeah,
That is, yeah, I know actually quite a few Australians besides you and my friend who I read the note out from, and none
yeah,
of them are happy about Australia, which again, gorgeous country and full of amazing people. And that being portrayed in the shadow of Harry and Meghan, it's almost like they seem to have the reverse Midas touch.
yeah, yeah. We don't want to be markled. We just don't want to be markled. And look, Australians are very into family,
Mm,
extremely loyal. Like
yes, they
you
are.
can be somewhere and you can be bagging at your family as long as you like. That's fine. But if somebody else starts talking about your family,
You're
then
gone.
watch out.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's pretty much, we're very
Mhm.
much into duty, loyalty, being true blue, not this sort of image, this very cultured, cultivated image of the warm banana bread and the benevolence.
Right.
We don't buy it because
Well,
we know
also,
what it's covering up.
well, also, again, Australians see through a lot of BS real quickly. And, despite as many filters as you want to put on the lights, right? Because everything has a
Yeah,
soft, glowy glow, or the skin is perfect and everything. It's always just kind of like, yeah, but how'd you treat the waiter? It's like my mom always used to say, right?
yeah,
Never date a man who's mean to the waiter, because that's how he's going to treat you eventually.
yeah, yeah. And
And
the entourage when she was here, that raised alarm bells because she had 4 palace staffers to aid her. And there was this event where she got off the plane and she still had the tag hanging off the bottom of her dress, right?
right.
And you just know that that would have created a huge tantrum. Why didn't you notice the tag? How
Yeah.
did you let me walk down the, plane steps? Well, it was very soon after that that Jessica Mulroney was called, and she flew in for the rest of the tour, and the clear message there was, "You're all incompetent. I'm going to
Right.
get my friend."
By the way, you're all incompetent, and only I know the right people.
Yeah,
Of course, the right people who
yeah,
she then cut from her life at these like quickest moment once a crack showed, and when
yeah,
Jessica Mulroney was again, caught up in a bit of a fiasco. But it's just insane to me. Also, think about the money it costs to fly Jessica there at a
yeah,
moment's notice.
yeah,
Had to be first class, had to be right now. I mean, that ticket
yeah,
must have been at least $15,000, $20,000.
yeah, yeah.
And
And we know Jessica Mulroney's writing a book, and we know she knows.
I mean, I just hope she has the fortitude to go through with, to understand
Yeah,
Megan will never be her friend and that
no,
it doesn't matter, and to give us
no,
the
no.
actual truth of what went down. That would be
It's going to be explosive and it'll be great.
oh,
I'm here for it. Do it, Jessica. Do it.
girl,
Tell us the truth.
you and I are going to do an online book club, just reading. And then,
You'll have to come on Shauna Kay's book club, Paula.
of
Plug,
course I
plug.
will. Because Shauna Kay's book club is the only one where we can do it live with popcorn. And
Exactly.
we're going to do voices. I'll be Jessica, you be Megan. I'm excited for that.
I don't know whether I can do Megan.
But
No, I
I'm sure
can't.
that you can try.
She's just got
Um,
the slight accent.
Listen, she strikes me as one of those people. It's kind of like Paris Hilton, who's like, I've got a little baby voice. Unless you piss me off. And you're like,
Yeah,
whoa,
yeah,
my God. It was like
yeah,
that movie with Anna Faris when, in order to remember people's names, she'd be like,
yeah.
hey, my name's Natalie. And she'd go, Natalie.
Well,
And you're
she's
like,
not, no, she's not a yeller. She's a hisser.
yes.
So she's a s.
How
Yeah,
dare
you
you?
know those really quietly devastating people that just eviscerate you and make you
Yeah.
want to crawl into a hole?
Mm.
She's like that. Yeah,
Yes.
quietly.
A quiet devastator.
Yeah,
Ooh.
we want that report. I'm serious because,
Mm. I
you know,
agree.
yeah, the palace, now we know that they knew more about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and they were circling the wagons and they were protecting him. And indeed, Andrew Loney has stated that one of the reasons why that report wasn't released was because they were circling the wagons still around Andrew because there were questions raised about Andrew's treatment of staff
Yep.
and they
Yep.
didn't want that to come up. So hence the buried report. But it's got to be released because otherwise it's seen as protection for this
Yep.
couple now, and the palace needs to very firmly distance themselves.
Girl, I am
However, if
waiting
they
for
publish
William.
it,
I'm waiting for William to be king so that he will release the report and say, this is it. We're done. Doot, doot, doot.
yeah, yeah. But I
Yeah.
wonder whether it's the one thing they've got to hold over their heads. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think they care because they truly believe it's not true. And it's kind of like, you can see we can all see one thing happen and one person will come out with the aliens came down and ate my mother story.
Yeah,
And everyone
yeah,
say 90 other people will be like, no. And then that person will be like, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? And
yeah,
you're just like, I'm going to believe my lying eyes. Thank you.
yeah, yeah.
But,
Do
I'm
you
going to,
think
yeah,
it's damaging for the king? Because
yeah.
a lot of people are saying because
Oh,
they're still on the royal family website, and actually that photograph of them in Australia is actually on the family website still,
mm-hmm,
that a
mm-hmm.
lot of people are saying that don't like King Charles III, that it's him, that he's trying to rehabilitate
Yeah.
Harry's image in particular, because he was known for trying to rehabilitate Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. I'm not so sure about that. I don't think we have enough evidence. And also, I don't think he'd organise it, though, seeing he's going to head over to the USA to schmooze Trump. I don't think that he would want
Right.
this happening as a distraction.
No. And also, so just for everyone out there, the timeline is supposedly Harry and Meghan are going mid-April before Anzac Day. They will likely not be there on Anzac Day. And Trump the king is supposed to be flying at the end of April to go see Trump and kind of smooth
Yeah.
things over with UK-USA relations, although someone did come out today in Parliament in England and say the king should not go, but we shall see. We shall see. But
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I think that, of course, he loves his son. Of course, he wants to meet his grandchildren. But at the same time, I think at some point you should say, I will be your father, but you cannot be in the firm. Let's
Yeah.
separate personal and business from this.
And take
So
them off the royal family website. That's a start.
that is exactly part of the separation. But
Yeah.
listen, I am actually going to keep poking around to find out who's paying for this trip, and I will
Yeah.
let you know. And
Yeah.
I'm probably going to do something on my Substack. I'm going to do something on News Nation, and I am just dying. So I will let you know. And if you hear anything, Shauna, you better tell me.
I will, but I'll publish it first.
No, yes, you will. As will I.
Follow the money, Paula. Follow the money,
Oh,
because
I love
that's
you.
what it's going to lead, obviously, to the answer.
Of course it will. And unfortunately, I think the answer might also lead back to your tax dollars. So yippee-ki-yay.
Well, look, there's going to be security provided, I'm sure of it, because
Yep.
look, if they're talking about at least Harry's going to be out and about a bit, and there's going to be a police car with sirens at some point, and there's
mean-
going to be probably police officers at some point, and that's the taxpayer.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Because of course Australia doesn't want anything to happen to them on their soil.
No.
But it's just, it's frustrating how easily they can spend other people's money. It's,
Yeah. Yeah, we don't need them here. I wish they'd call it off. No one wants it. And it's just a really bad idea.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Shauna. I really, really appreciate you taking the time. And
worries.
I want to thank everyone out there for watching. What? We got over
Yay.
2,000 people. I appreciate you.
Great.
And don't worry, we're going to come back. I will keep you all updated. Please hold on. Wait. Here's this. I always forget this little media asset thing. Like, subscribe. And
Oh, yes.
go to mine and Shauna's Substack as well. Mine is the Inside Scoop with Paula Froelich. Shauna's is the Vintage Read.
No, it's not. It's
What?
Red Hot Royal Reveals on Substack.
Wait a minute. But you have a Vintage Read, don't you?
Well, that's the address, the URL. But
thank
I
you.
don't have a Vintage Read Substack. No, Red Hot Royal Reveals.
There you go, guys. Boom. And I
Yeah.
wasn't totally wrong, even though I am still mildly embarrassed. Anyway, have a great week, everyone. This has been the best way to start off on Monday. And mwah, I send
Yes.
you
Mwah to you.
big smooches.
Yeah.